Hey everyone, welcome to our deep dive all about ChatGPT.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one.
I've been playing around with it, and I gotta say, it's pretty mind-blowing.
For sure.
It really feels like you're talking to a real person.
It does.
So today we're gonna unpack just how it actually works and
Mhm.
like all the crazy mechanics behind it that make it able to, you know,
Yeah.
generate this like human-like text.
hmm
So how does it do it?
Yeah, how does it do that?
Like, how does it seem to understand and then, like, produce realistic text, like, word by word?
Right.
It's just wild.
Well, you might be surprised to learn
Okay.
that it's not really like thinking in these full sentences.
Okay.
It's actually more about predicting one word
What?
at a time.
One word at a time. That
Yeah.
seems so counterintuitive.
It does.
Like, how can you create anything meaningful just focusing on an
Well,
individual word?
That's the beauty of it.
Okay.
It's really efficient for generating text.
Okay.
So imagine ChatGPT has this giant list of words, right? And next to each word is a number
Okay.
that represents how likely that word is to come next,
Okay.
based on like all the words that came before it.
Mm.
Kind of like
Yeah.
choose your own adventure story,
Yeah. I see.
but with like weighted probabilities instead of just choosing a path.
So instead of thinking about grammar,
Right.
or sentence structure. It's
Hmm.
just playing this like high stakes game of word probabilities.
Exactly.
Wow.
And the fascinating thing is,
Yeah.
even with this like seemingly simple approach,
Yeah.
it creates remarkably complex and nuanced text.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So where does it get all these probabilities from? It's not like someone is sitting there assigning a number to every word in the dictionary.
No. That's where machine learning comes in.
Okay.
ChatGPT is trained on a massive amount of text data.
Okay.
We're talking like billions and billions of words.
Wow.
So by like analyzing all this text, it learns patterns
Okay.
and
right.
figures out which words tend to follow each other.
So it's basically teaching itself the rules of language by devouring just massive amounts of text.
Precisely.
Wow.
And it's not just about individual letters.
Okay.
It's about understanding how whole words and phrases
Okay.
tend to flow together in a sentence.
So that's how it develops that human-like quality in
Yeah.
its writing. Okay, I gotta ask though, if it's always picking the most likely word based on the data,
Right.
wouldn't that make its writing kind of predictable?
Yeah, you're right. And that's where a bit of randomness comes in.
Okay,
So ChatGPT has this feature called temperature,
temperature.
which controls how creative and unpredictable its responses are.
Interesting.
So like a higher temperature
Okay.
means it's taking more risks, choosing less probable words.
Gotcha.
And the result is like text that feels less robotic
Okay.
and more engaging.
So like with a low temperature, it would sound like
Yeah,
a boring textbook.
exactly.
And with a high temperature, it's more like a free-flowing conversation.
That's a great way to put it.
Hmm.
It's like adding a little bit of spice to the language.
I like it.
Yeah.
This is seriously making me rethink how language works.
Hmm.
I never thought about it in terms of probabilities
Yeah.
and patterns before.
It is fascinating.
It is.
And what's even more interesting is
Yeah.
this idea of word probabilities actually reflects something we see in human language too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called Zipf's law.
Zipf's law.
And it basically says that in any language,
Okay.
a few words are super common,
Yeah.
while the rest, like, trail off rapidly in frequency.
Huh. So it's like even at the most basic level,
Yeah.
language has this underlying structure, like
Right.
this mathematical elegance.
Exactly.
Wow.
And this brings us to the heart of how ChatGPT operates,
Oh, okay.
the concept of a model.
Model like a fashion model?
Not quite.
Okay.
Think of it more like a scientific model.
Oh, okay.
You know, like when Galileo dropped a cannonball from the Leaning Tower of Pisa?
Ah, yeah, I remember learning about that.
So just as we can create a mathematical model to predict how a cannonball will fall
Okay.
based on the laws of physics,
Right.
ChatGPT uses a model to predict word probabilities based on the patterns it's learned from all that text data.
So it's not really understanding the meaning of words. It's
Mhm.
just crunching numbers based on patterns,
Precisely.
just like a scientific formula.
Yeah. And what's amazing is that even with a relatively simple model,
Okay.
you can get surprisingly good results.
Wow.
It doesn't need to like perfectly mirror reality.
Okay.
Just capture enough of the patterns to be useful.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So even though ChatGPT doesn't think like us,
Right.
it can still produce text that feels remarkably human-like.
Yeah.
just by understanding the underlying probabilities and patterns of language.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
It's a testament to the power of pattern recognition.
Really is.
And this idea of models and patterns
Yeah.
extends beyond language.
Oh, really?
That's how we can get computers to do even more complex things.
Like what?
Like recognizing handwritten digits.
Wait, recognizing handwriting?
Yeah.
How on earth can a computer do that?
It is impressive.
Our handwriting is so messy.
Right.
And unique.
And you might be surprised to learn
Yeah, okay.
we don't actually program the computer with like specific instructions
Oh?
for recognizing each digit.
So if we're not giving it explicit instructions, how does it learn?
Right. So that's where this technique called machine learning comes in.
Okay.
And it involves something called neural networks.
Neural networks?
Yeah, these networks are loosely inspired by how the human brain works,
Okay.
with interconnected neurons that process information.
Neural networks. Okay. We're definitely in like sci-fi territory now.
We are.
This is getting really interesting.
It is.
Tell me more.
All right. So let's imagine a network of interconnected neurons
Okay.
that are organized in layers.
Okay.
Each connection between these neurons
Yeah.
has a numerical value called a weight,
Okay.
which determines the strength of the connection.
So it's kind of like this giant web of connections.
Yeah.
And the strength of those connections changes as the network learns.
Exactly.
Okay.
And what's fascinating is that
Yeah.
we don't have to tell it what to look for.
Wow.
The network figures it out on its own
Really?
by analyzing tons of examples and adjusting its connections to get better at recognizing those patterns.
So instead of programming it with rules,
Right.
we're just giving it tons of data
Yeah.
and letting it figure out the rules on its own.
Precisely.
That's a powerful approach.
It is.
And that's how ChatGPT learns to do all sorts of amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
But to understand how it works,
Right.
we need to like delve a little deeper into the structure of these neural networks.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm ready to go deeper.
Let's do it.
This is all blowing my mind. All right, so last time we were talking about these neural networks,
Right.
like these complex webs of interconnected neurons that learn from data.
Yep.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around how all of this connects to ChatGPT actually like doing things,
Right.
like writing poetry or translating languages.
It's definitely a leap going from like recognizing digits to generating creative text,
Yeah.
but the fundamental principles are the same.
Okay.
It's all about pattern recognition
Yeah.
and then applying those patterns in new and interesting ways.
Okay, so walk me through it.
Okay.
How does ChatGPT go from predicting words to, say, writing a sonnet?
Well, just like with the handwritten digits,
Yeah.
it all starts with training.
Mm-hmm.
So we feed the neural network a massive data set,
Okay.
but this time it includes tons of examples of sonnets.
Okay.
So the network analyzes this data, picking up on the patterns,
Okay.
the rhyme schemes, the meter,
Gotcha.
the common themes and structures.
So it's like soaking up all the knowledge and nuances of sonnet writing
Yeah,
by studying countless examples.
exactly.
Okay, so it's not just memorizing existing sonnets.
Right.
It's actually learning the rules.
Yeah.
The underlying structure of what makes a sonnet a sonnet.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of machine learning.
Okay.
You can extract these complex rules from data,
Yeah.
even if we humans struggle to articulate them clearly. It's like learning to ride a bike.
Okay.
You don't necessarily know the physics behind it,
Right.
but you learn through practice and experience.
That makes sense.
Right.
But how does it know what kind of sonnet to write?
Right.
I mean, sonnets can be about love, loss, nature.
Mm-hmm.
How does it decide on a theme?
That's where your input comes in.
Okay.
So the words you give ChatGPT,
Mm-hmm.
what we call the prompt,
The prompt.
to act like a seed,
Okay.
guiding the model's creative choices.
So it's like giving the network a starting point and
Yeah.
then letting it run with it.
Exactly.
Using all those patterns, it's learned to create something new and unique.
Precisely.
So my prompt is like giving it a nudge in a certain direction,
Yeah.
and then it takes over weaving a sonnet based on everything it's learned about that form of poetry.
Exactly.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So it's not just randomly spitting out words.
Right.
It's actually responding to my input
Mm.
and using it as a guide to navigate all those complex patterns it's learned.
You got it.
And that's why ChatGPT is so versatile.
Yeah.
It can adapt to different styles,
Right.
tones, and even languages, all based on the prompts it receives.
Exactly.
Speaking of languages,
Right.
how does it handle translation?
Right.
That seems even more complex than writing poetry.
It is a challenging task,
Yeah.
but the underlying principle is similar.
Okay.
So we train the model on parallel texts,
Okay.
which means the same content in multiple languages.
Gotcha.
So it learns to map words and phrases across languages.
Okay.
But more importantly, it starts to understand the subtle differences in grammar and syntax.
So it's not just substituting words from a dictionary.
Right.
It's actually learning how ideas are expressed differently in each language.
Precisely.
And just like with poetry, the quality of the translation depends heavily on the training data.
Yeah,
The more diverse and nuanced the data,
exactly.
the better the model will be at capturing those subtleties of each language.
Yeah.
This is all incredibly impressive, but it's also making me think about the limits of these abilities.
Yeah.
Can ChatGPT really understand the nuances of human language?
It's a great question.
Or is it just a very sophisticated mimic?
That's a question a lot of people are asking.
Right.
And it's one that doesn't have a simple answer.
Yeah,
ChatGPT can generate remarkably human-like text,
it can.
but it's important to remember that it's still a machine.
Right.
It doesn't have the same lived experiences,
Okay.
emotions, or cultural understanding that we humans do.
So there's a certain depth of meaning,
Yeah,
a certain soul that might still be missing.
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
It can imitate the form, but not necessarily the substance.
Okay.
And this becomes more apparent when you start pushing the model's boundaries, asking it to perform tasks that require a deeper understanding of context, ambiguity, or emotion.
So it might excel at following instructions and generating text based on patterns.
Yeah.
But it might struggle with tasks that require more abstract thinking.
Right.
Or genuine creativity.
Exactly.
Well,
For example, you could ask it to write a story
Okay.
about the complexities of a human relationship.
Right.
And it might produce something that's grammatically correct and even entertaining,
Yeah.
but it might lack the emotional depth and insight
Okay.
that a human writer would bring to the table.
That's a really important point.
It is.
It reminds us that while these tools are incredibly powerful, they're still just tools.
Yeah.
And it's up to us, the humans, to
Right.
wield them responsibly.
Exactly.
And recognize the limitations.
I completely agree.
And this whole idea of a black box.
Right.
The fact that we don't fully understand how these models make decisions, that seems like a potential concern, right?
It's definitely something to consider.
Yeah.
While we can see the inputs and outputs, the inner workings of these models can
Yeah.
feel like a mystery.
Right.
Researchers are working on ways to make these models more transparent
Okay.
and interpretable.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, there's a certain level of trust involved.
So we're relying on these models to perform tasks that can have real-world consequences,
Right.
even though we don't always fully grasp their reasoning.
That's right. And it highlights the importance of ongoing research
Okay.
and critical thinking as we continue to develop and deploy these technologies.
Yeah.
We need to be asking tough questions and ensuring that we're using them ethically and responsibly.
Well, this deep dive has certainly given me a lot to think about.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see the incredible potential of ChatGPT, but also the complexities and challenges that come with it.
Yeah,
It's a powerful tool,
it is.
but it's up to us to use it wisely.
I couldn't agree more.
And as we move into the final part of our deep dive, we're going to explore some of the broader implications of ChatGPT
Right.
and what it means for the future of AI.
Let's do it.
Okay, I'm ready to dive into those big questions.
Yeah.
This is getting really fascinating. Okay, so we've gone really deep, into the technical, nuts and bolts of ChatGPT, but now I'm curious about, the big picture. What does all of this mean for the future of AI?
Yeah.
It feels like we're standing at the edge of something huge.
He really does, doesn't it?
And one of the, most fundamental questions we keep coming back to is, the nature of understanding.
Right.
Can ChatGPT, or any AI for that matter, truly understand the meaning behind the words it generates?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, that whole black box issue.
Right.
It's incredible what these models can do.
It is.
But it's also a little unnerving that we don't fully grasp,
Yeah.
how they work their magic.
And that leads to some pretty profound questions
Okay.
about the future of AI.
Like-
are we on the path to creating machines that truly think and feel?
Wow.
Or are we just building ever more sophisticated mimics?
And if we do create truly intelligent machines, what does that mean for us, for society, for our sense of what it means to be human?
These are questions philosophers have been grappling with for centuries.
Right.
But AI is bringing them into sharp focus in a way we've never seen before.
It's almost like science fiction is becoming reality right before our eyes.
It really is. And that's both exciting and a little daunting.
Yeah,
You know,
for sure.
we're entering uncharted territory,
Yeah.
and we need to be prepared for the possibilities,
Right.
both the positive and the potential challenges.
So it's not just about the technology itself. It's
Right.
about how we adapt to it,
Right.
how we integrate it into our lives and our world.
Precisely.
And that requires careful consideration, open dialogue, and a willingness to examine our assumptions about intelligence, consciousness, and even what it means to be human. This might sound a bit philosophical,
Yeah,
but I think it's crucial.
it is.
We can't just blindly embrace these technologies
No.
without thinking about their impact on who we are.
I completely agree. We need to be proactive,
Yeah.
asking tough questions and having those sometimes uncomfortable conversations.
So where do we go from here?
Right.
What are some of the key things we should be thinking about
Yeah.
as AI continues to evolve?
Well, one crucial area is the question of purpose.
Okay.
What do we want AI to achieve?
Mm,
What are our goals for this technology?
that's a great question.
I imagine different people will have different answers.
They will.
Some might argue that the ultimate goal is to create machines that surpass human intelligence,
Wow.
machines that can solve problems we can't even fathom.
Okay.
Others might prioritize developing AI that augments human capabilities,
Right.
helping us to be more creative, productive, or connected.
And I'm sure there are those who are focused on the ethical considerations,
As-
ensuring that AI is used for the benefit of humanity,
Right.
not to harm or exploit.
All of these perspectives are valid.
Yeah.
And the future of AI will likely be shaped by the interplay of
Mm.
these different goals and values.
It's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
It's not.
So it's not just about the technology itself,
No.
but about the choices we make, the directions
Mhm.
we choose to pursue.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like we have a real responsibility
You do.
to guide this technology in a positive direction.
We absolutely do. The future of AI isn't predetermined.
Right.
It's being written right now by the decisions we make,
Wow.
the conversations we have, and the values we prioritize.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
Good. I'm glad.
I feel like I have a whole new understanding of ChatGPT
Yeah.
and the incredible potential and the complexities of AI as a whole.
It's been great talking about
It
it.
has.
And as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
Even a model as seemingly simple as ChatGPT
Yeah.
can raise such profound questions.
It can.
Imagine the possibilities and the challenges that lie ahead
Mm-hmm.
as AI continues to evolve.
It's definitely a future filled with both incredible promise
Yeah.
and a healthy dose of uncertainty.
It is.
But one thing is certain.
What's that?
It's a future that we'll be shaping together.
And that's a powerful realization.
It is.
AI isn't some external force acting upon us.
Right.
It's something we're creating.
Yeah.
We have the opportunity and the responsibility
Mm-hmm.
to guide its development and ensure that it benefits all of humanity.
Thank you so much for taking us on this incredible journey.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.
It's given us a lot to think about,
Good.
and I'm sure our listeners will be pondering these ideas long after the episode ends.
I hope so.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those neurons firing.
Always.